righty, here we go. A little bit of technical problems we're having this morning. So, welcome, as you can see from the title, Creality KLiTek. I don't know why it's called KLiTek. Next-Gen multi-tool head nozzle changing printer 2026. I don't know. This will be very interesting to see what goes on, because this is going to be the newest thing that we got, and that's not even the title. I told you I'm just not with it. I'm a little off today. Just a little bit off today. For those of you who get the five-finger death punch reference, kudos to you. So yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting. This could be good. This could be good. You know what? I'm going to change that. I don't want green. I want something like a little bit orange, because things are a little bit off today. Hey, we got John that pops in, says good morning. Morning. Good evening, afternoon. I'm assuming you're in the States. Yeah, some interesting stuff is popping up. Creality is coming out with their KLiTek multi-gen tool head changing system. Printer is supposed to be coming out in 2026. Like I said in the previous video, I thought this probably wouldn't pop up until the end of this year at best, and apparently that's what the deal is. It's definitely going to be a thing. We did get some images, and we can see that we have kind of a little recap of what's going on. John says it's 4:09 p.m. in Virginia. That's not too bad. Not too bad at all. I like that. Not too late in the day. But yeah, this thing here looks pretty interesting. Now, a little recap, since we talked about this in the previous video, and then we'll go over the new information. Yeah, pretty wild stuff here. And what we ended up seeing in this, we see a couple sets of gears. So we thought that was kind of interesting. The gears in the front, then the gears in the back. For the extruder system, we see a filament path. We see the nozzle, the silicone sock, and then we see the heat and all that stuff. And so what we kind of theorized is that this KLiTek system is going to be similar to Snapmaker, which is kind of the thing. But is it going to be the entire tool head, kind of like Snapmaker, where you have the entire tool head and then it replaces, or is it going to be more index-like inspired, where the majority of the tool head is going to be on the rail and it's just going to pick up, the nozzle and the heat block and hot end type of thing. The extruder is going to be on the machine. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see. So, and looking at the patent that we did, we saw a couple of different ways on how they could do that, because the patent was kind of, kind of left some gray areas open to, interpretation and future developments. So with that being said, this is going to be interesting, because we're going to jump right into this, because I found some information, like I said, about this KLiTek. And so what we're going to end up doing is we're just going to pop right into this. Boom! And there we are. KLiTek Creality nozzle changing 3D printer coming in 2026. For those of you, whenever a new system comes out, especially with Creality, the interesting thing is that I don't know if this is going to be, I don't know, we'll see. Let me change that to yellow or orange-ish. New machines come out, and what ends up happening is we usually have some trepidation. We're kind of nervous because the new machines are usually pushed out from most companies, requiring multiple firmware upgrades and so on and so forth. But this is going to be a huge leap for Creality in pretty much any other company, because they're going into a multi-tool head system, whereas before they have it. So yeah, we'll see what happens here. Let's take a look at this and see. A tale as old as time. I don't really think about that. Maybe we should ship a product whose concept is so far ahead of its time it's only to inevitably stumble without necessary technology built in, or should we persist with technical innovations blindly for the sake of numbers? I don't know if Creality is all that and a bag of chips, but I would say I'm enjoying this. I think this is good for Creality to push the envelope when it comes to technology and doing things. And they've kind of done that with some of their other printers, like with the iSpark, and then of course having, you know, multiple filaments go in, and then so you don't have a long retraction route, so narrowing the time or lessening the time of doing you know, retractions, extrusions, you know, purges and stuff like that. But the KLiTek system is where do we draw the line? Yeah. All things considered, the goal is simple. Higher speed, which is good. High speed, low drag. Zero waste, multicolor, and multi-material printing. That would mean unlocking entirely new possibilities. Faster, better. Time wasting, filament wasting, color bleeding, that is going to be interesting. And so when you talk about waste and purge and all that stuff, we've seen a lot of systems where, you know, back and not so long ago, you had companies that were competing and saying, well, look at the waste that we have. And then another company comes along and reduces the waste and the purge a little bit more. And so they're like, well, ours is lighter and theirs. And now we're getting to the point of where it's like getting almost zero waste, which is pretty amazing, which is good not only for hobbyists, but for those who are doing side gigs, because time is money and filament is money, and yeah, we need to save money. So single nozzle or multi-nozzle system. It talks about how they have some systems here, and that kind of a little bit of a jab to Bamboo with their dual nozzle system, with a nozzle for your, you know, one material and then a nozzle for your support material. I wasn't really too excited about that because I thought, you know what, it's whoop-de-doo. You know, you already have companies like Prusa with the XL that have multiple tool heads, so I think, you know, having two nozzles on one tool head, you know, system just wasn't really that, it didn't really blow my hair back. So anyway, it talks about swapping out half a tool head takes about the same time as changing a nozzle, but it's much harder to calibrate, and as the change part becomes bulkier. And again, we talked about that in a previous video. The more mass you have, the more weight you have, which is going to affect the speed of the printer. So it's kind of interesting that they're jumping onto this bandwagon. I'm actually pretty impressed. Decided to keep the changing part minimal, only including it where completely necessary, like the hot end, which could enable preheating before switching to improve overall efficiency. See what I mean? We're getting to a place of where technology is like, oh, we're going to have a tool changer and whoop-de-doo. Okay, we do all that. But now we're getting to the point of where these machines are going to get even faster, because instead of just changing the tool head and then going and then heating up and then laying down, you know, your filament, your machine is going to be working on one filament, and it could be preheating the next color change to reduce the amount of time. Wow, that's crazy. The result is we are changing a part that is highly modular and easily replaceable. This is a good thing. With a filament path that is visible for troubleshooting, this is good. I'm encouraged. Modularity we achieved, the modularity we achieved hit a sweet spot. The nozzle assembly weighs just 1/5 of the weight of the full tool head. It's a 5-second nozzle change. So, oh, look at that. So kind of what we ended up seeing, 5-second or less nozzle change, that's thumbs up. Color and material change in 15 seconds, that's not bad. And what we end up seeing here is kind of like the heat block, the nozzle, the silicone, we've got the path there, and then, of course, we see over in this part right here, let's kind of get a little bit deeper into this. Yeah, that doesn't look bad at all. And with that being as small as it is, I don't think that's going to cost much money. Especially, it seems kind of index inspired, I guess you could say. Easy swap design, and there is the full tool head. So basically, all your mass is going to be here with minimal mass on your tool head. So instead of just doing, you know, 4 or 5 entire tool heads, you're going to have one tool head, and all you're going to be ended up doing is basically a stripped down version of, I mean, wow, you can see the filament there. The filament comes through the top. We've got a control cable. It'll be interesting to see what kind of connection is that. And then, yeah, it looks like it just kind of pops off. We'll definitely take a look at that and see how that goes. So, looks good. It looks good, folks. We're looking good. So, Flex, the hardcore tech. The TPU problem, I don't know. I've never printed TPU. The hygroscopic, meaning moisture affects its properties. You got to dry it, blah, blah, blah. But what I do know with TPU is that some machines are good with certain types of TPU, and those same machines aren't good with different versions of TPU. You have different levels of softness or hardness with TPU, and so this is going to come into a place where I imagine, because I'm just reading this for the first time with you all, friction, failure, faced with constant changes. Most printers have to crawl with snail-like speeds for TPU. They are limited to the harder TPU 95A. The softer stuff or the foamy stuff is usually, you have to jump through hoops, and a lot of machines can't even print that stuff. Combining colors, shore hardness in a single print is pure science fiction. Well, not anymore, according to Creality. Rethinking the extruder, what should we do? Traditional Bowden, we've got that. Direct drive units struggle, we've seen that, and we've seen how there are companies like Prusa that has their little, the little thing, they'll switch inside the Core 1 Plus, and the Core 1L. I think the Core 1L has it, where it will kind of adjust the drive or, the tension on the TPU, but I don't know if it does all types of TPUs, so this will be interesting. We came to a breakthrough. What if the extruder wasn't just pulling the filament, but was assisted by a secondary extruder unit at the rear pushing it? A dual system. Remember how we looked at the picture of the other day? We saw the picture, we saw a couple sets of gears. That is what that is. Wow. By synchronizing these two forces, the TPU no longer behaves unpredictably. It moves through the tube like a caterpillar, so it's pushing and pulling. Interesting. This allows for stable, consistent extrusion of TPU as soft as 80A. Oh, wow, that is going to be something. Hey, we got Swedish Forges in the house. Sorry, I've been, I was reading here what we're going through and getting pretty excited. By solving the most challenging problem of TPU extrusion, our system innovations unlock massive leap in printing speed. Now, is it really going to be massive leap? I don't think so. I think it'll be an improvement, but I don't think it'll be massive because that word is subjective. While most systems struggle with 80A and 85A, or forced to slow down to 1 millimeter cube per second, this dual drive mechanism triples that industry benchmark with a stable 3 millimeter cube per second flow. The advantage is even more pronounced with TPU 95A. It achieves a flow rate of 15 millimeters cube per second, 7 times of what most consumer 3D printers, which stall at 2 to 3 millimeters cube per second. Ooh, interesting. That's a significant jump. I would say that's a significant jump. They're going to have their auto filament detection with RFID, which a lot of companies are doing. We're going to have an S-drive feeding system. Apparently that's talking about the TPU Creality print optimization, which it needs to be optimized. FOC step servos and high flow nozzles. Ooh. So we got some servo action here in, ooh, interesting. Interesting. That you can get a lot more control. Interesting. Replacement parts would be maybe a little bit more, but if you got a good servo, that could be a good thing. Increased flow efficiency, boost PLA performance, patent pending S-drive system. Good, good. What else? What else? What is possible? Why choose between speed and precision when you can have both? Standard printing is limited to a single nozzle diameter. So in other words, like on the K2 Plus, I have a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. and I print that. I can do different layer heights, smaller or larger. Usually the standard is 0.2 millimeter, and I could change that. And you've got adaptive or variable layer height, that you can make adjustments on your model to kind of clean it up. But with a multi-nozzle architecture, they're unlocking this new workflow, mixing nozzle sizes with a single print. Ooh. Imagine printing the outer walls with a precise 0.4 nozzle for max detail, while the infill is high flow 0.8 nozzle. Ooh. We've already accelerated multicolor and multi-material printing. This now takes efficiency a step further. Efficiency gains are even more pronounced for larger models. So, wow. Interesting. So your outer walls could be 0.4 or whatever, and then 0.8 for your infill, for faster infills, higher efficiency. Interesting. That very good. Speed isn't the point. Well, it kind of is. Getting the model done faster is. The multicolor isn't the point. It's about one and done vibrancy. Multi-material itself isn't the point. It's always about possibilities, merging the rigid with the flexible. Lightweight nozzle changing system with no compromise, speed, precision, printing at 80 ATPU delivers a breakthrough. Pretty wild. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. So it is. I think Creality is going to be. I think Creality is kind of pushing the envelope here a little bit. I think they're going for the. They're going to try to get this thing going, and we'll see how it goes. Very, very interesting. So we've got more information on this KLiTek. I don't know if I like that name, KLiTek. It just doesn't. It doesn't seem like a power word. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't say what it stands for. I don't know. Quite the interesting thing. But on the Creality site, because it is a 12-year anniversary, this is very exciting information that we're going to be seeing here with this multi-tool head index minimalized thing of changing, and we're going to take a look at some more information. So with that being said, there's more. There is more. I found some more information, so we're going to take a look at that. But what you can do right now, as I take a swig, is you can like the video, subscribe to the channel, and to stay abreast of all this new information. I was so excited I didn't even have my latte this morning. So we go back here, and what we end up seeing, let's go ahead and we'll make me smaller. And then that way we can make this bigger. There we go. Just kind of adjust that right there, and we'll see what's going on. KLiTek. Again, I'm not sure about the name and everything. Colors, materials, print in place. And we've got different types of TPU. Print faster, less waste, hassle-free in one go. Rigid, plush, and responsive. So we can see on the purple here is 95A. We have 90A on the gray, and then we have TPU 85A on the green. So, wow, that's pretty impressive. I'm because usually when people make shoes or things like that, it's like one material and that's it. And that you do your Crocs and add one material, but now you can do multi-materials with this machine supposedly. So that is very interesting. Easy support removal, PLA, 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 and PVA. So in other words, that PVA, I think that's the water soluble material. So you could use that for your supports. I haven't seen a real, that hasn't been a real big thing, but with some new capabilities that are popping up with this, it could be. Game-changing nozzle, experiencing multicolor. Now, remember we talked about full spectrum for Mula. Bring out the full spectrum with just 4 colors, CMYK. So you've got your cyan, magenta, yellow, and K being black. And then being able to mix those things to get different shades of color. Remember how we talked about this on the previous video? I said this is going to be a thing, kind of like what we see in color printers. You know, you got your 4 colors and you're off and running. You can print pretty much anything. So this is kind of, they've been doing a lot of work. Creality's been doing a lot of work. I am pretty impressed. We got Terry, it pops in this morning, says, good morning. Yes, morning, sir. Productivity, and now we're going to get into this. Ooh, we have graphics. Let's see if we can. Next-gen system, ultra-fast, 5-second switching between nozzle, less than 15 seconds between colors and materials with virtually 0 waste. Unlocking true print-in-place models. So there, okay, so it's kind of a big system. Okay, not bad. We can see that it looks like it's got stainless steel rails on the side, or tubes. We've got like a fan in the front. It looks like we got a couple fans on the bottom. We've got a control cable on there, which looks pretty nice. When we see the nozzle, and you have a filament for each nozzle, and you can see the filament to see that that's going. And then you've got the heat block, the nozzle, and all that stuff. And then you've got a control cable behind the filament line there. Very, very interesting. So basically 0 filament purges, maintenance minus 25% replacement time. That could be good, because if you have to replace, it makes me wonder about the nozzles. Are the nozzles going to be quick swap? And if we take a look at that, I don't know, it's kind of hard to see. It looks like it's got a couple of screws on there. So I think maybe the maintenance, the replacement of, they're talking about that assembly on the back. I think that's what it could be. Cost efficient, 75% reduction in replacement cost. So that reminds me of Index, in that their system was like, what, $35 for the header, everything with the induction coil. Time saved, like in printing, the KLiTek versus others, talking about purge and the amount of material. KLiTek, so 39 grams versus 278. I'm sure that's going to be a single system, changing, kind of like an AMS type of system, or CFS. So are you comparing apples to apples? But we're just talking about the filament used. But again, that reduction in waste is huge, because that's a lot of money, especially if you're doing a side gig. Easy swap, USB-C cable. So in other words, that's going to be a USB-C cable right there. And you got your filament going through. Interesting on how, wow, that is really stripped down. And then it goes into the heat block. We still can't get a good, there's the nozzle. Ooh, what do we see there? You see that right there? We got wiper pads. We got nozzle wiper pads. Ooh, that's good. And then what do we see down there? I'm wondering if that is going to be a purge or a poop container. Ooh, interesting. So I'm wondering if that connection is magnetic on the back, or if that's mechanical. That is kind of interesting. And over here, Net Venom says it's kind of like the Snapmaker. Yes, it does, it looks like. But then it also kind of has a little bit of an Index flare or influence on that. Let's see what we can see here. We got a fan there, we got a fan there. Not sure, and then a fan there. I'm not sure what that is, but interesting. Now, when it talks about having a dual geared system for, especially when I was talking about the TPU, for pushing the TPU and then pulling it, this seems like this is kind of cleared out for those gears to have contact with the filament. So that's going to be one set of those gears, is I think right there. So that's why we have this hollowed out area here and you have access to this. I don't think this is just for aesthetic reasons of, ooh, look at the pretty filament. That's going to marry up into the tool head, and that's where those gears are going to come in. And I think what we ended up seeing is this little notch here. If we go back to that video, that little notch moves. Or that tab moves. So I think that's where the gears come in and sandwich around the filament, and then it can do what it does. Very, very interesting. Ooh, look, what do we see? Low maintenance cost compared to bulky tool changing solutions, reduces cost by up to 4.5 times through nozzle assembly only replacement. $14 is for that thing right there. Ooh. Now it's not induction. It's not an induction system, and looking at the, I wish this hand wasn't in the way, but others say 67. I think it ends up like with the index system with their induction coil, it was like $35. But for a price of $14 for that, that is nice. That is very good. Here we get in this, ooh, lightweight and rigid frame. Obviously it's going to be aluminum. 30% increase in structural strength achieved through advanced computational simulation. Okay, yeah, got that. But does it say what the build plate is going to be? That'll be interesting. Because I don't think they're going to go big and go home and try to go for a home run. They'll have a smaller machine and then they'll have a bigger machine. High repetition accuracy, precise XYZ repositioning. 25 microns? Wow, after the nozzle change. Interesting. And here, so there is the nozzle, there's the heat block, and then, yep, see that right there? Now, those are going to be gears that are going to be inside here that is going to drive and be that basically a direct drive system. It's just going to be within this tool head here in this assembly. Let's see what else. There's a servo motor, so we'll get more precision in that, because versus a gear, you know, clogs and things like that, you're limited. But with a servo, you can get some more precise movement. What else do we see there? Filament, blah blah blah. I think that's about all we got there. Net Venom says, maybe time to close some tabs. Impressed with your system resources. Lots of colors on the taskbar. That's kind of interesting. This down here, the taskbar, those aren't open. Okay, so I've got like messages. I ought to close that. I ought to close PowerPoint. Ecamm, that. I got my Creality, but all of this other stuff. Let's click the QuickTime. Fusion is open. Microsoft updates. But those are just basically, it's a shortcut tab. A shortcut area into where it's a shortcut like you would see on a Windows machine. So all of these are not open. But you do see how I got a bunch of tabs on my browser that are open. So, but yeah, hopefully that answers the question. So it's not as impressive as you might think. But then once you go Mac, you never go back. Let's take a look and see what else we got. Integrated sensor network. 37 sensors, including 12 dedicated to the tool changing process. Real-time precision. And how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. This looks like it will be a 4 tool head system. Interesting. Interesting. So that tells me it's... we can't read that. We can't read that. Maybe. Let me try something. Can we... What I want to do is see if I can't make out the size of the build plate. Because inquiring minds want to know. And I think it's just, we just can't see that. Can Can I change anything to make it? No, I can't. So my thinking is with this is going to be a smaller one, and then they'll come out with a larger one later after, but we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, and then FOC step servos and H-bridge. I don't know what an H-bridge is. Pinpoint extrusion controls through superior print quality. In-house designed H-bridge delivers system-level optimization with noise reduced by 7 decibels. So obviously we got some improved servos in the action. So we've got that. We've got the X and the Y, and of course the Z, and all that stuff. Interesting. Kind of the outside of it kind of looks like the K2 Plus. We've got like a little display screen that is included, so it's not like an add-on screen like the K2 Plus or other machines where it has a separate display. It looks like the display is in the machine itself. Interesting, interesting. Inventive says that the H-bridge must be the gantry system. I guess you're right. That makes sense. Wow. So, interesting. Revolutionized the way the TPU is printed. Multiple colors, multiple materials, rigid and flexible, as soft as 80A. That is great. Ooh, can we see the... Oh, damn it, Creality, you didn't... I thought they'd have the little thing where it would show the build plate area, but they didn't, those sneaky bastards. Up to 7 times faster TPU printing. Wow. Now, we got to take this with a grain of salt because you have your advertised hype, and then, I mean, come on, think about it. You know, what do all printer companies do? They all say, well, max speed is 600 millimeters per second, squared per second. You know, ours is the fastest, and blah, you know, everybody's going for, you know, the max speed. But in reality, your daily driver mileage is usually around, excuse me, is usually around 250 to 300, in all honesty. Usually it's about 250. So if you push it too far, you're going to have problems because you're going to get a reduction in quality, and so yeah. So saying that the top speed is 7 times faster, is that the top speed you're talking about, or you're talking about the daily driver, the reality of actually printing good stuff? I don't know. We'll see. We got somebody new here. C Road 6772 says it's 300 or slightly bigger. Yeah. Usually to be safe, I say 250, but yeah, nobody goes up to 600 in printing speed because then you come into problems, you know, with your flow rate and all that. There's a lot of different variables that come into play. So saying that it's 7 times faster, is it talking about a straight run of TPU, or is it talking actually printing a shoe or something complicated like this? So 2 to 3 millimeters cube per second versus the 15. That'll be interesting because if you could print with a complicated model like this, that would be impressive. But we do know that Creality and other companies have been known to hype the hype. So we'll see what happens. Auto filament identifications are the RFID. S-drive system pull and pushes the TPU. So that is kind of interesting. Creality print optimization for TPU, stringing control, multi-material, interlaying bonding, and support. That is going to be interesting. This is the area that I think Creality kind of blows it, is their Creality print. Because they deal with the Windows version, they deal, of course, with the Mac version of their slicer, and I don't know, they're getting better slowly over time. Step servos and high-flow nozzles, and we've been asking for high-flow nozzles on the K2 Plus that I have. The stock nozzle is just, it's not there. The hot end is not there, so that's why I went with a micro Swiss hot end, and I've never had any clogging issues since, knock on wood. So this is a step in the right direction. With servos, precision control, high flow nozzles enable faster printing, with better flow rates and calibration and all that stuff. Unlock possibilities with KLiTek. It takes 4. Ooh, full spectrum. We talked about this in a prior video, blending cyan, magenta, yellow, and white or black. I wish they went with 5. I wish they would do the CMYK with white and have black. So a 5 tool head system. I really wish they had done that. But with, look at all those colors that you can get. That's pretty impressive. Mix and match. Mixing nozzles for printing. A 0.4 nozzle prints the outer walls for detail, while a 0.8 nozzle does infill printing. So that is something that's going to be new. Very, very interesting. So you're going to do your outer walls, I assume, and then you're going to have to switch to another nozzle. Another material goes through and then does your support material. So yeah, and if you know anything about slicers and programs, you can change the order in which you print. So you could do, the inner first and then the outer, or you can do the outer first and then the inner for precision and accuracy and all that stuff. So, but being able to change and have different nozzle sizes, that is pretty good. And it says it's coming in third quarter of 2026. I think it'll show up just in time for the holidays. Remember I said that would be the best case scenario. But again, as with any printing company, their first machine out of the gate, I don't recommend that. I would want somebody else to go through and go through the growing pains and the all of that stuff. But doesn't that look nice? That looks nice. I don't see a quick change nozzle system. I wish I could pause this. But, you know what I can do? I can do a screen capture. How about this? And then we could bring this into there. And so now, what am I doing? Seriously? And let me go ahead and we'll copy this. And then we'll go back to here. But yeah, the KLiTek system looks very, very interesting. And let me just kind of adjust some stuff here. And we'll kind of zoom in and see what we can see. Dun, 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 dun. So, we'll take a look at some stuff. So, let me get my browser out of the way because I still have that graphic going. Okay, and that's very annoying. Okay, so here we go. This looks interesting in the fact rail system still looks like a regular rail system that they have. Does that look like a belt drive? Yeah, still looks like it has a belt drive. Of course, it's a computer graphic, so we got that going on. We got your cable assembly on the front of the big thing that's on the rail. It looks like it's got a couple of Allen screws that screw that into place, so that's nice. And then we have the knockout area for your individual nozzle system that you have there. But do we see, let's see what else. So I think that little tab there that's kind of popping up at the back of the tool head assembly, I think that's where the gears sandwich in on the filament there for the cutouts there. So that's going to be very interesting. You've got your little capture, PTFE tube that's going to fit into that snap holder there. And then it says that it's got a USB-C connector for the cable, and it looks like that's got a couple of Allen screws. But as far as like the nozzle and the hot end there, or the heat, whatever, the thing that heats up, and the nozzle. So the filament goes in there. You got a couple of screws there, but we don't see with the nozzle and everything. So, interesting. I think this is going to be quite an interesting machine. It makes me wonder, by looking at the pictures, how can we kind of estimate on what the build plate is going to be? I don't know. I tried looking at a bunch of, looking through this and all the pictures and trying to find out, well, how big is this going to be? Because Creality was keen to block out the size of the build plate. And I'm just looking to see if I can find any other pictures that would show that. No, we don't. We don't see anything. But this is encouraging. This is indeed encouraging. George pops in and says, good morning. Howdy. Good to see you, George. We're going over the Creality KLiTek. And it looks like it's going to have 4 units and then with 1 tool head, whereas I think the other machines have got more mass. So they've reduced the amount of mass, which reduces the weight, which is good for, good for being high-speed, low drag. Nevenov says they're hiding the details to keep us in suspense. Yes, I think so. I think they're absolutely in those bastards. They did it. I want to know more. It's that, what was that, Starship Troopers? Do you want to know more? Yeah, I think that's where that comes into play. And yes, I do want to know more. But the build size. I am thinking, and that's rare, but I do it every once in a while. I think with this KLiTek system that we got going on, if it's as good as they say for TPU, even if it only prints at 3.5 times the speed of other machines with their printing their TPU, I think that's going to be a significant improvement. As far as TPU, I don't know. A lot of people do. A lot of you print TPU. I've never printed TPU. I don't really have a thing for TPU. I don't know. Maybe I should. I know I'm doing some cell phone holders, different versions that I'm making. And of course, when your cell phone's on here, being that this is PLA, it'd be nice to be able to print some TPU to have some grip on there. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. 6772. Roslich? I am horrible with names. Zilch. It's based on the K2 Pro chassis, so my guess is a 300 build plate size. I was going to say probably 270 to 300. I thought it would be like 270 or something like that, but that makes a lot of sense. 300, bigger. I think that will come out in a next version because you got to go big, but you got to start somewhere. Nevenov says, I want to print with TPU, but just have not taken the leap. I haven't either. And you can print TPU with the K2 Plus, but you have to have like an overhead spool thing, and it's got to feed directly into, and I just don't have the need for printing TPU. It's just not a thing. And we got Go For It Painting. Hello, welcome to the live. Welcome to the stream. We're talking about the KLiTek from Creality that is supposed to come out third quarter this year, which I'm very surprised. But I knew they were working on some stuff because what 3D printer company is not working on anything? They're always working on. So I'm just stating the obvious. It's a little. So anyway, yes, very, very interesting on what we're seeing with the KLiTek system. KLiTek, I don't like that name. Do you all like the name KLiTek? Creality KLiTek CK. I don't know. I think it needs to be a power word. It needs to be a word that has some oomph behind it. I don't think KLiTek, because I don't know, it didn't say in the articles talking about, well, what does KLiTek stand for? If you're going to use an acronym, I'm not sure. You should explain what KLiTek is. I'm not sure. We got Rah in the house. Rah! What's up, everyone? We're doing good, doing good. Ned Venom says, not really a fan of the name. Oh, and then we got KZRU. Hey, welcome to the stream. Creality revealed a lot of things, so they won't let the Ender die. V3 Max with a 450 build plate and also smaller CFS, Spark i7, mobile 3D scanning. Yeah, Creality's got their hands into a number of pies. Their fingers are all over the pies, and it's got a bunch of different types. Like you said, the printers, the scanners, you forgot about the laser engravers and all that stuff. We have that. They also, if I'm not mistaken, they also have a resin printer, which I do resin printing. Actually, I have where is it right there? There's this box right there. GK, Uniformation GK3. It's not even unboxed yet. But they do have a resin printer as well. So they've got a ton of stuff. And I think in a previous video, they had something like 30 different types of machines. Holy crap. I think that's too many machines. It's just me. I think they should reduce that. But because then what comes into play, the question is, how do you support all of those machines? How long are you going to support those machines? The Enders. Come on, we need to get rid of those things. I think that would be the thing. Zilch says, Clipper Tech. See, that's why I like people. That's why I like you people specifically. I don't like a lot of people, but I like you people because you're smart. That didn't even cross my mind, but now that makes so much sense. KlipTech. They should have just said KlipTech. That sounds better than KLiTek. What was that Saturday Night Live with Sean Connery? How he always messes up the game show words, and all that stuff. Yes, I'll take KLiTek for 500. I think KlipTech would have been kind of good. But that makes sense. Good. Somebody's making sense. Let's see. Robert says, when I talked to Creality at Rapid TCT, I asked about the heated CFS and they said stay tuned. I was hoping they would release something like this around if releases. I kind of imagine that if they're doing something like this with this system, new printer, multi-tool head, that it's also going to have a multi-material system or a dryer box system, managed system, because again, the whole thing with the TPU just begs the question, well, you got to dry it. They're going to come out with a new dryer, I think. So that's good to know. That's good to know that a heated CFS system, which also we didn't see on the pictures of the computer graphics that they had of where the spools are going to go, okay? We didn't see any side spool holders or rear spool holders, and for the love of God, Creality, put the power switch on the front of the machine. I'm tired of doing the reach around. I mean, seriously, it's 2026. I got a power switch here, power switch here, power switch here. My microwave, the power switch is on the front. TV, power switch is on the front. Pretty much every electronic device that I have is the power switch is on the front. And yet printer companies continue to put the power switch on the back. And I know somebody's going to say, oh, but it's going to cost more money, so because of the wires are so expensive. Seriously, and the power supply, and just put it on the front. I'll pay extra. I'll pay extra. I would happily pay extra. But the other thing we also noted about this new system is that, according to the computer-aided graphics that we saw, it will be an inset display screen on the machine. So it's not going to have like this separate little display that you have to put on and it can rotate up and down, which begs the question, if you have like a print farm type of thing or you have it on a shelf, are you going to be able to see if the printer's up here or down there? I don't know. You'll see what happens. We'll see. I don't know. I use my display. I rotate it every once in a while, so we'll see how that goes. Dun dun dun. Rara says he doesn't like the name of the KLiTek. I'm going to say KLiTek. I'm going to say this is KLiTek, not KLiTek, because Sean Connery from Saturday Night Live. Yes, I'll take KLiTek for 500. No, Sean, that's KLiTek. There is a new dryer space pie. Ooh, good. Nedvenov, I have power going to a power hub with individual switches. Yeah, you can do that. But you shouldn't have to, is what I'm saying. Same thing when, remember, not only the power switches on the back to do the reach around, but they would do crazy stuff like the USB port would be on the back. I mean, come on, seriously, I'll pay an extra $2 or $3. I'd pay an extra $10 to have all that stuff on the front. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, the power strip, that works. KZRU, oh yeah, new resin and like a multi-laser tool for $2,500. I think with all the add-ons would be around $11K. Falcon T1. I would also like, get back up there, a little clippy. I would like to see an option to turn the machine off on the screen. Yeah, it could be interesting. It could be interesting. I don't know. The reason I'm on the fence about that, of having a screen power off, is that the power supply on this is kind of big. It's got enough power that you're going to need to have a manual switch for that power. I've worked in electronics and I've worked in industrial settings with big machines, talking, like furniture shops, and when I worked in a Department of Corrections, they had a furniture shop machine. We're talking about huge giant planers. We're talking about machines that have a zillion relays and working those things, and you have emergency stop buttons, which are mechanical knobs that disconnect the power, that physically disconnect the power because it's such, fire hazard, and you need those things. But having a thing on the display, I'm just not there. I like it, and if I didn't know what I know or worked around those big industrial machines, I probably would be on board with that. But the little part of me inside is like, no, you got to have the mechanical switch. I just wish the switch was on the front. How hard is it to put a little push button, on the front next to the display? It's not hard. It's you can buy a really nice mechanical switch for power, and a few bucks here and some wire, and boom, Bob's your uncle. You're good to go. So I don't know. Very, very interesting to see what we end up having with that. KZRU says, I'm sure they could add one to the firmware, the K2 series, off the screen and secondary on the side. Switching the K2 off feels like restarting the Atari. It does. We went to Hawaii for a little bit of a vacation, and of course you got to do the reach around, to hit the power switch, which on the K2 Plus is on the left side. Other machines have them on the right side, but either way, you got to do the reach around, and it's not the fun type of reach around. But yeah, and of course it's next to the poop chute, and usually it's just, seriously, just put it on the front. But yeah, that could be an option as well. Have a temporary switch. I mean, that could work. I'm just more of a mechanical, but then again, I'm old. So yeah, that's what we got going on there. Let me see if we can pull up some other screenshots. of, no, it wasn't that. Nope, images. Blah, 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 blah. So again, they're talking about changing in less than 5 seconds, and they talked about which is just changing. But if you're going to do a color or material change going from one to another, that's going to be 15 seconds, which is a respectable amount of time. That's not bad. And again, the reduction in waste is going to be huge, but we all know that that is where everything was going. You know, I remember so many people were excited about bamboo and the dual nozzle system. It was like, oh, and it was, you know, I'm thinking back, I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know, it's, you know, you have Prusa XL in a multi-tool head system. It's just the fact that that's so expensive, but now being mass produced and everything, it's kind of like top loading VCRs. When VCRs first came out, I know people are kind of, the young people are like, what's a VCR? It's where you had God, I feel old. You had a tape, like a cassette tape with a magnetic, you young people just don't know. But when the VCRs that played movies first came out, they were massively expensive. But in over a short period of time, with the advancements in technology, everything is made cheaper, smaller, better, faster, lower price point, boom, there it is. So it's good to see that this is happening. But 15 seconds for a material change isn't bad. 15 seconds or less, that's not a bad little deal that they got going on there. Let's see what else. What was some of the other pictures? Low maintenance cost for the KLiTek is the KLiTek. I'm going to call it a KLiTek. $14 for that assembly there, which is pretty nice. So you've got minimal parts there, your nozzle, your little heat block hot end and little filament thing, and your main driver is going to be here. So as far as replacing this, they say it's going to be about, what was it, 25% reduction or 75% reduction in replacement time, whoop-de-doo, whatever. I'm not too let's see. George says Betamax. Yeah, talking about the top loading VCRs and the Betamax, and then it went to video discs where movies were on a big disc. I know the young people are like, what do Grandpa, go back to your home, because everything's digital and online now. Well, but way back in the day, kids, they used to take those movies and they had to put it onto a physical media, and yeah, they did. I promise you, they did. Google it. They actually did that. Oh yeah, and then Zilch says Laserdisc. I didn't get into the Laserdisc thing. I didn't get laser. I thought they were cool, but it was like, and we were poor, so yeah, we didn't go that route. So yeah, we've got that. And you had the swap side. Yeah, I know. You had to flip it over, kind of like a record. But still, back in the day, that was the deal. KZRU says, I wonder if Creality partners with E3D for high flow nozzles and get an official heat bed. Other company, they could save some money on software side of things. Yeah, I've said that before as well. I really wished that Creality would work with like a company like MicroSwiss, or, you know, partner up with somebody so they don't have to reinvent the wheel. You know, I mean, get with them and their shit works, you know, and it works well and it's high quality. My MicroSwiss on my K2 Plus, before I got it, the first 400 or so hours, I was plagued with clogged nozzles and errors and popping up on the machine. And it was like, I'm taking apart the extruder. I'm a pro at taking that thing apart now. But then somebody recommended the MicroSwiss hot end, and I got that. And ever since then, probably got 2,200 hours. So ever since then, from 400 hours plus, I haven't had one clog. Knock on wood. So I wish Creality would do something like that, to have not only to make a better machine, but I think that would put them on a higher status level And that would be more accepted because Micro Swiss and other companies that do high-end stuff, when you partner with them, that shows your status goes up. And I think that's what Creality should do. Let's see, what else do we got? Did I do that one? Yep, we did that one. Dun dun dun. We got that. Yep, same thing. And I think that's pretty much it for that. Screenshots. Did I do screenshots? Yeah, we did the screenshot of that. That'll be interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, by looking at that picture, I think you're right. I think the build plate is going to be about 300 cubed on that, and then because what we see with Prusa when they did the Core 1, and you can get like what 4 or 5 nozzles with their index system supposedly or whatever it is, and then with the Core 1L you can imagine you can get like 8. That, you know, and that's a bigger system as well. But they have a little bit smaller. They're a little bit more high speed, low drag. But for this, yeah, I think 300 is going to be good. And since most models, I think you can print a full helmet on a 300. Yeah, you can do that. It depends on the size of your dome, but yeah, shouldn't be bad. A 300 should be good. But now I automatically already want a 350 cubed or a 450 with multi. I am in the market for getting another printer. So, but I'll probably wait and see. So I don't know. KZRU says, E3D already has high flow obsidian nozzle for the K2 Plus. Should have shipped it with that or let us choose at checkout. Exactly. There's a new diamond head nozzle for, get back up there, the K1 series and the Ender V3s. Yeah. And again, partnering with some of these other companies where they do the R&D, they've already done the testing, they've already done the heavy lifting on that part. Basically, you're subcontracting out, and you just work out a deal and say, hey, you get a discount because they buy in bulk and wholesale and all that stuff from the company on nozzles or hot ends or whatever it is to elevate the brand. And I think Creality or some other company, I think Creality could do that, but I just don't know if they know they can do that. Imagine shopping. You go and you can get a base model, like this base model KLiTek system, 300 cube build area, and you're happy as a lark. For the average user, you're going to pay some money. But then what happens, like you said, in a drop-down menu, you could get a diamond head nozzle, or you can get obsidian, or you could get a Micro Swiss, boom, as a, advanced, expert option on there. So companies could make money. Creality could make some money. Those other companies that make the hot ends or whatever it is, they could make a little bit of money getting more exposure. You're raising the level of that brand. And the other thing that I think they could end up doing is, ramen beds, the graphite beds. Creality ought to work with them. If you work with somebody who does nozzles, hot ends, and bed, and offer that as an upgrade, as a professional prosumer upgrade option, holy crow, people would be all over that. That would be like white on rice. Think about it. Because you would be able to satisfy the new people coming into 3D printing. You could. You get the new people, they just get the base machine. Oh, I'm getting 4. I can do, all of that cool stuff. I'm happy. But then you have the other people that are a little bit more advanced that are like, well, I want the high flow nozzles. I want the diamond nozzles. I'm going to be printing out some serious shit. You can appeal to them. And then, the ramen bed, a graphite bed system, which is, because Creality and all printers are notorious for not having really level beds. And of course you have the slicer and the program and the firmware, they all take that into account when they do the bed mesh and everything, and it accounts for all those minor inconsistencies. But to be able to offer like a graphite bed on that, and somebody else has already done the work, the graphite bed that I got for my K2 Plus was like, what, $100 or so? Yeah, what was that? Ramen bed, R3MEN, graphite bed. Let's pull that up. And K2 Plus, which has been really good. I've really enjoyed it. Let's see if we can get on here. There we go. Now we popped up. So the graphite bed, of course it's in Korean. I don't want Korean 1. I want USA, US. That's going to make me scroll all through here. United States, okay, US dollars. $200 for a graphite bed, and this is not, I'm not pushing them. I don't have an affiliate with this company at all, but it worked out pretty good, and like shows the bed mesh before and after. I actually went from 0.9696 after I did manual bed leveling of my K2 Plus, and I got it down to 0.2036 or something like that. So yeah, significant improvements, and I could kind of sand down the magnetic stuff on the bed to make it even better, but or flatter. But it's just really not needed. But the graphite bed is nice, and you have good overall heat on that, and it heats up quicker, and there's more consistent heat. So I'm a big fan of this. Do you absolutely need it? No, you don't. You don't need the ramen bed. But it would be nice if a company would work with some of these other companies that do some great, outstanding work and be able to have that as an option. But you'd have to get those people to play together, in the same sandbox, or at least a public sandbox. So it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see, what else do we got? Dun, dun. KZRU, high flow nozzles, official heat bed from another company could save time and money for a software side of things. Yes, absolutely. I like you, KZRU. We talked about the Obsidian, Diamondback nozzle, we did that. Creality is technically splitting into different ecosystems, professional, DIY, medical, judging by the ecosystem names on their new page, such as PO Create, and what was that other one? NextB, to name a few. Yeah. They're pushing the envelope. They're pushing the envelope, which is good. Because Creality used to be the company that was a little bit, they made some dubious claims, and what was it with the K1, that they said it was an all-metal extruder system, and then they sent the machine out to influencers, and they took the hot ends apart, and they found out that it wasn't all metal. And they had made the claim for the 10,000 clog-free hours, but that was based on it being all metal, and it's not all metal, so is it still 10,000 clog-free hours? Yeah, somebody screwed the pooch on that, and I did videos on that, and I wasn't nice to Creality. But for where they are now, very, very interesting in technology and getting better quality products. You could always talk about Creality and the K2 Plus when it shipped out, and people are like, oh, it's horrible, it's not working, but they had damaged products showing up, and I had worked at UPS and seen how large, heavy, unwieldy boxes get handled, rolled off of trucks, pushed off of platforms, and so on and so forth. So it wasn't surprising that, and you see the videos online of people getting their stuff delivered, and there's holes and the corners are crushed and all that stuff, because the delivery people don't care. A little bit of a throwback here is when I was searching for a printer and I decided to get the K2 Plus. One of the reasons I got the K2 Plus was because of the delivery people in Korea and Japan. I live in Korea. I retired here in Korea. And when I was doing research to see the reviews on the K2 Plus, I noticed in Japan and Korea, there were no bad reviews. And so I was like, but you get bad reviews because the machines were dead on arrival. You had crimped cables. You had people that had the corners were smashed, and everything's out of whack and not plumb, and so on and so forth because of bad handling. And I was nervous about that. But when you unpack the K2 Plus and you see how they package it, holy crow, I was amazed. And the thing is, here in Korea and Japan, usually delivery people are subcontractors, and they make their bread and butter, and they keep the bread and butter by delivering things carefully. So when I got my K2 Plus, there wasn't a scratch on it. And of course, the machine works fabulously. So there's something to be said for that. So Creality's come a long way in that regard in some of their technology. If you go back, to the Ender series and way back in the day, they've got too many machines in my opinion. But, like KZRU says, they are branching out. They're doing the scanners. They do have the laser engravers and things like that. They've got a resin printer out. I noticed that the other day. I was like, oh, wow. What to do. Unless they really push the boundaries on that, that's not really groundbreaking. But with their printers, now we're seeing that they're starting to get serious about this. Now, there was some hype with, it was Faux Hammer, and what was it, Stay 3D Print or Stay Ready 3D Print, the guy with the bald guy with the head tattoo. He was sponsored by Creality for a long time, and then he had a fallout with them, and he's like, I won't ever he's not pushing their stuff anymore. And then Faux Hammer did a thing talking about Creality and how Creality was kind of pushing, and that whole weird thing, they were putting him and his Creality rep into a hard place, and Creality was like mad about Faux Hammer and the criticism that he had given, which was justifiable criticism. It wasn't like he was like slamming them just to slam them. Faux Hammer does some really, really great reviews, and he's just upfront. That's all there is to it. And the criticism that he gave wasn't even that bad of a criticism. Creality could have taken that and said, hey, you know what? You've got some good points. Let's get together and we'll work. They could have done this whole media spin and say, hey, some people in the field, the experts and Faux Hammer has brought this to light, and we're going to work and get some more information, and we're going to fix this, and we're going to advance to make a better printer, blah 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 blah. Creality didn't do that. They ended up kind of being well, you could lose your sponsorship if you don't. They're very critical about the critique that they got from Faux Hammer, and Faux Hammer ended up saying, hey, I'm out of here. That was that was stupid of Creality. That was definitely stupid of Creality, because you read that and you're like, the potential is there. It's kind of like your little child. The potential is there to do anything, and you didn't. And but I'm glad now. Hopefully, there's a change in management and customer service relations and so on and so forth, and seeing that, if you, especially in the days of influencers, that if you take it personally, especially with somebody like Faux Hammer or people that are knowledgeable, they're not looking to get clicks and views by just, throwing people out. I mean, it's not like he did it maliciously. Malicious? What? Malicious. That's the word I was looking for. I haven't had coffee yet. He didn't do it maliciously or with evil intent. It wasn't unjustified. The critique he gave was cut and dried. It was obvious. So hopefully Creality, and that burned a lot of people off of Creality, especially when you have Faux Hammer, especially with the Stay 3D Print guy and some others that are like, yeah, I'm not going to work. I'm not going to do with Creality anymore. And then especially when they said, some of the other stuff. But we're not talking about that. It's just, hopefully Creality learned their lesson and got rid of that, whoever was saying all that bullshit and get into a point of where you can be a professional and work with influencers and work with the people that you're selling these printers to, and realizing that, yeah, there's no room for hurt feelings. So go woke, go broke. And I'm an independent. I'm just kind of borrowing that phrase. Let's see. Is KZRU says, does your K2 Plus still automatically upload the time lapses to the cloud? Mine stopped since the start of the year. Since, sorry, get back up there. Seen at least another person have the same issue. Maybe it's due to the FlowPrint app update. No, I haven't even noticed that because I'm not a real big time-lapse guy. You know what I could do though, but I could check on that. I just, let's see. I haven't been on the Creality thing for a while. On the, yes, that one, continue, log in. And the thing that bothers me now that you bring that up is the time lapses are cool. I thought they were cool for a while, and then now it's just like, I don't care about time lapses. So, but let's see. Prints. I've got a bunch of prints. And and it's weird that, okay, these are older, and I'm not, that's old. Okay, so the newest stuff that I have, so I don't even have the new stuff that I printed. K2 Plus. And trying to find the, I guess I could pull it up on the screen, might as well. I don't know if it updates it or sends it to the cloud. Purchase discounts, models, orders, models. It's not under there. So I print out some, I make some stuff in Tinkercad and put it out on here. So, but that's not what I want. Print settings, nothing there. Print files, upload, blah, printer, whatever. Prints, start and search. I don't know, let's see what that does. Completed, print details. Does anybody notice that this isn't like user intuitive? You should just have like something at, you know, profile. No. If you all, let me throw this in the comments, free models. Free models off of the stuff that I made in Tinkercad. So that'll be in the comments section. Content, maybe it's content? No. Favorites? No. No, because I got a bunch of favorites. More Hammer stuff, blah, for portfolios. No, no. Profile, eShop, insights. You know, where the hell? I remember going through this before, trying to find, the time lapse, and it was a pain in the ass last time, and it's still a pain. It's just not intuitive. Come on. Purchase history, discounts, model orders. Create folder, upload. I don't want that. Favorites, notes, groups, content. I have no idea. I guess it would have to be on. It would have to be on the slicer program. Let's see if we can do that. It's going to take a little bit. Going to my desktop always takes time. So, and I'm currently working on a phone charger for Apple, not for Apple, but for my Apple Watch and my Apple phone, and you know the MagSafe charger, and you know a little thing there. So I'm kind of doing that, do different versions and stuff. So, But the device details, oh, here it is. Time-lapse video. And do that, what is that? Export. So I don't know if they, I don't want it. I just want it on the desktop. Or no, I just want it on downloads. Open. And we should be good to go. But yeah, that was always kind of a thing. It's weird because you have the time lapse on the machine itself. You have your time, which this is referencing the machine itself. But then you had some places where, excuse me, where you would have it online. And yeah, it's just not intuitive. KZ says, I can only see if I'm on their flow print switch version and the machine is on. There's a time-lapse section only on flow print. Oh, okay. KZ says he dropped a follow. I got some stuff on my Creality Cloud profile too. Free feel to have a look. Yeah, what is your Creality Cloud name? And we can pull that up. I'll take a look at that. Excuse me. So let's see. Downloads. Like this is the most recent download. The time lapse. Yes, I want to do a full overlay. Boom. That's a little cell phone holder done in TPU. And made in Tinkercad in, wow, yeah. 12 seconds, boom, good to go. And I experimented with some fuzzy skin on that. So, but yeah, usually I'm not a big time-lapse person. I wish there was something to where you just couldn't, you just didn't have time-lapse, or you could toggle it on and off and whether you wanted it or not or whatever. I don't know. Liked, purchased, creations, collections, nope, uploaded. I don't know, what the hell. Dropped a follow. Followers. Okay, let me see if we can find you on followers. KO. Okay, there he is. Oh, we'll give you some free exposure. So here's his little link there, and we'll take a look. We'll see what you got going on. Dun dun dun. It takes about 6 seconds for my computer to catch up when I switch over to desktop for some reason. KO, got 12 models. Ruler holder, Dyson power connector. Ooh, so he's doing some functional stuff. Ornaments, pen pencil holders. Oh, that's cool. Concept watering cans. Nice, cool. Small tablet stand. Neat. That's kind of cool. I like that. Good. Always good to, I use Tinkercad. I'm going to try to learn Fusion 360. We'll see how that goes. Fazical, OG, hi Steve. It looks like KLiTek will be 256 bed with 4 tools. Hope they do a 6 or 8 tool head version, something with the K2 Plus size. I'm fully expecting that. I think it'll be 300 will be the build size. And KZ, I think it was KZ that mentioned that he thinks it'll be 300 cubed. The Snapmaker U1, that's 270 cubed for the Snapmaker U1. Honestly, I don't think it'll be 256 cube because I think that's why I was thinking it was going to be 270, is because it would be, Creality copying what other people do. So I thought it would be 270, but 300 would be nice. 300 would be nice, but I do agree with you on have a 6 or an 8 tool head version with the K2 Plus size. So I fully expect that to be a thing, and that's kind of, we see that with Creality and their other machines. They make a machine, and then they make a bigger machine, then they make a smaller pro version machine or whatever. But yeah, imagine a K2 Plus with like 6 or 8 heads. That would be cool. Not that I do a lot of that printing, but maybe this would change. But because they are jumping off into the CMYK full spectrum printing type thing that we saw, yeah, that is definitely going to be a thing. Because remember, we took a look at this, and that popped up as far as like, you know, this is going to be a thing. So if you don't know what full spectrum is, basically you're taking the 4 colors of, what is it, cyan, magenta, yellow, white, black, whichever one the K is. You can make different shades of colors. And so if you're doing a lot of that, I don't know, with the 6 or 8 nozzles, would that increase? That would probably increase your color range with that system. So that could be, but I don't do a lot of that. But I could. It would be nice because mostly what I ended up doing, I print miniatures, I do some cosplay items and things like that. I'm getting into that. Old dog, new tricks, having fun later in life. But instead of having to print something in one PLA black or gray and then prime it and then paint it and do all that stuff, it would be nice to be able to just do the helmet with all the different colors and boom, not have to paint. That would be nice. That's very tempting, very tempting. KZRU says, I wonder if Elegoo learned from their Orange Storm Giga mistake. Would love to see a proper industrial size machine for under 4,000. Yeah, that thing, Elegoo, when I saw that, and when I just by looking at that, because I've worked on some industrial machines in my past, I probably forgot everything that I've ever done with that. When I looked at the Gigastorm, the orange Gigastorm, I was like, okay, cool, big printer, all right. But when you saw the machine and you saw the details on it, I was like, no, this is not gonna be good. And then when they had the build plates was actually 4 build plates like soldered together or some bullshit, I was like, yeah, that's not the way to do. And I don't even know if anybody's got a working Gigastorm. They're few and far between. They're like unicorns. They're out there somewhere, like Sasquatch. But yeah, I don't know. It would be good. I've been tempted. There's some, there's obviously some big printers where you're going to be printing out at some huge nozzle sizes, of getting big prints and stuff like that. But yeah, under 4K, that would be good. It's just, I don't know, the quality of parts. And when you get into something like that, your customer base is going to be small. But then again, more and more people are printing out like car parts and things like that, larger items, so that demographic is growing. But yeah, who wouldn't want to have a huge 3D printer and print a full-sized person or character or the Hulk or something like that and not have to go through splitting it up and, or minimal splitting up of the model. So yeah, that would be really good. But yeah, Elegoo, they bit off more than they could chew. And honestly, do they even sell that? Let me see. Elegoo, Giga Orange Storm, blah, blah, blah. It says it's coming soon. I thought it was already out. 800 by 800 by 1000. But it's just, now we're in the rant phase of our live stream here. Let me see if I can, okay, there we go. So there it is, coming soon. I thought it was already out. But there was just some things like the routing of the cables and stuff. I mean, seriously, come on. You're just going to let that cable just free balling all the way up to the top there, and some other things. It's just, you know, look at the build plate. It's like 4 of them put together. See, it just, that just made me mad. Cooling fans, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't even say that you can buy it. What is next print? Oh, okay. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. That's their little proprietary, their little own little thing. New and hot. Let's see what's new and hot. Printers. Nothing really crazy. Okay. It is what it is. Alrighty. Let's see what else. Back to the comments. But yeah, the Orange Storm Giga, that was huge. Have you worked on any HP jet fusion machines? I have seen HP recently showed off a smaller jet fusion machine with a relatively small curing station. No, I haven't. I had the Saturn III Ultra, and with their curing station, which was really good, and then I had a resin leak, and then resin had seeped into the nether regions of the Saturn III Ultra and died, and so that's where this box right there is. I wonder. Hold on a second. No, phone doesn't work. Okay. I thought I could use my phone as a camera, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I got a Uniformation GK3 back there that I will needs an unboxing, and yeah, of course I went to Hawaii, so that's the excuse. And then I have a bunch of models on the table that I'm going to be painting and doing the Necron thing. So so many irons in the fire. Eventually I'll get to it. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. But yeah, HP jet fusion machines? No, I had not seen that at all. Interesting. And I'm kind of limited in what I can do because being here in Korea, that's why when I buy something, I want to buy something good because I'm going to have to pay an import tax and fees and stuff like that. Excuse me, HP jet fusion. Most efficient 3D printer, or no? There it is, HP. MJF 3D printing technology. Oh, that's like the big, yeah, those are industrial. That's like SLS printing, I think is what you're saying. Is that the metal? Interesting. Yeah, some pretty wild stuff that they got going on. So yeah, and then of course now we have desktop CNC machines. So a lot of stuff that used to be reserved only for high-end businesses because a CNC machine was huge and it just, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever. Now those things are being shrunk down to be putting on a desk, and you could print stuff on your desktop with a desktop CNC machine. So it's pretty amazing on how this is changing everything. Casey says, I had a friend who said HP Jet Fusion are amazing since the parts are made from powder, so precision is amazing, but keeping up those machines is costly. New model is the MJF 1200 showed off. Yeah, it's, excuse me. Yeah, that SLS, that is some pretty amazing stuff, and that's going to be outside the wheelhouse of my budget. Unless somebody wants to give me millions of dollars, you're welcome to do that. But yeah, I don't see that anytime soon. But with those such advancements, eventually that stuff will filter down and get to the place of where it will be offered and be a prosumer device. Remember, 3D printing used to be a thing of where to get good 3D printing, you had to pay out the nose. But now, and you're limited in printing plastic, but now we have carbon fiber, we have a bunch of different high-end materials, high heat. You're talking about the stuff that you printed out and it, you use it on exhausts, on vehicles and in mechanics and autos and engines and motors and things like that. It sounds exactly like metal. Pretty amazing stuff. And then, Creality also has their scanners and things like that. So just so many interesting things that are popping up. But the KLiTek, and I'm going to call this KLiTek. I'm not going to call it the KLiTek because the Sean Connery reference is just, oh, I'll take KLiTek for $500, Alex. No, Sean, that's KLiTek. So that's why I'm going to call it KLiTek. But the KLiTek is going to be really, really interesting. And then the other interesting thing, we'll see how hot will the hot ends get. Is it going to be an actively heated chamber to do some of those esoteric and special filaments that they got going on? Inquiring minds want to know. I'm sure they'll let us know because it's supposed to come out by this third quarter, but I think it's going to be pushing it. But they've had the patent out for multi-material tool head thing out for quite some time now, so we'll see how that goes. KZ says, I just remember an old HP designed 3D proprietary spools and all, basically Stratus. Some poor soul wanted to sell for $2.5K on Marketplace. Those were the days. Yeah. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. The days we live in. So, yeah. While we're getting all these advancements in technology, people are getting dumber and dumber the following generations, and eventually I surmise that we will end up with a society or world that is based off the movie Idiocracy. It was a comedy, but it is slowly becoming a documentary. So, yeah. But until then, I'm going to hang around you cool people that are smarter than me, and hopefully some of that will rub off and sharing information. And all in all, I'm pretty excited about this KLiTek. This looks pretty interesting. Now, does that mean I have a K2 Plus? I'm not a K2 shill. I'm not a Creality shill. There are issues with Creality and so on and so forth. But my K2 Plus that I bought with my own money is working great. But will I buy this thing right out of the box? Right out of the chute, out of the starting gate? No, probably not. I'll wait. I will wait until all the speed bumps and the frustrations and this and that, because Lord knows and this will be interesting to see how Creality does this with this new system and this new printer that is just like pushing the bounds of what they've done in the past. They've had small incremental increases and advancements in technology and things like that. But this is going to be huge compared to anything else that they've done before. So, yeah, we'll see. But how they approach this and how Creality, good company, Creality. I saw them back in the day. It was a great day, Creality. It'll be interesting to see how this compares to, say, like the K2 Plus or the K2 Pro or something like that, and how people, a machine is released, you have the frustration of this isn't working, you got multiple firmware upgrades and this and that. Will that be reduced? Did Creality learn along the way? Have they hired some high-speed people to do this? And are they, I don't know, we'll see. They're jockeying for position now. So it could be really good. KZ says, Bamboo does make good machines. It's the software and the people behind that suck. It usually, yeah, people suck. That's what we do. We suck. My wife will tell you. I have my moments. But yeah, Bamboo's in some trouble right now with the open source community and code and rules and laws and whatever that all entails. they had some guy named Pavel, and what he ended up doing is a fork of Orca slicer that so you wouldn't need to access the cloud through Bamboo's handshake Whoosy closed ecosystem thing, so that you could use Orca. And then they basically sent that guy a letter or an email, some correspondence saying you need to stop or we'll send you a cease and desist, and then we'll sue you if you don't. But now that whole thing has blown up with Louis Rossman and Grant from 3D Musketeers and a number of other people that are just like, yeah, Bamboo's they're getting pretty, I don't know, they're pretty full of themselves. And I think they're trying to be the bully on the block, and a lot of people aren't appreciating that. But like Casey says, their machines work. Some of their machines, like the dual nozzle system, yeah, I knew that wasn't going to be a thing. The all-included printer, laser, cutter, plotter, Whoosy thing, no one asked for that. And of course, it didn't take off. But they built their system off the backs of open source, and they don't really give back at all. If you actually dig into what Bamboo has done versus other companies who use open source materials and codes and blah, 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 other companies have done way more. Much smaller companies have offered more to the open source community in regards to that stuff than Bamboo ever has. And Bamboo does the bare minimum. And I think they're going to get their pee-pee whacked. If they don't learn their lesson, they're going to get their pee-pee whacked, and they're going to learn a little bit of a lesson there. But they're such a huge company now. So really, you got Bamboo, you got Prusa. The problem with Prusa is that they're across the water, and they don't have a Chinese supply chain, and their stuff is expensive because of that. They do some really good work, but it always seems like they're kind of like a half step behind in some stuff. I mean, hell, you have 3D printing companies that will put out a machine that has a camera that is infinitely better than what Prusa has for cameras. And even then, you got to remember scanning the codes and all this stuff. I mean, it's just a nightmare. And it's like, but I could buy this machine over here for $500 and boom, the camera's already up, locked and loaded and ready to go. And there's an app and the whole 9 yards. So there's some areas in which Prusa can do better. They've done fantastic. On the other side of the coin, Prusa has done infinitely better in regards to creating machines that you can do a series of upgrades, so you don't have to buy printer after printer after printer. You can just buy the upgrade kit. So I really appreciate that. And then the safety and the security of their users, being able to unplug so that you don't have to do cloud access like Bamboo, where you're required to do that, which, by the way, Bamboo did say, no, we're not going to be transmitting these items over log files to our servers. It's all about safety and security. And then people got into log files and found out that Bamboo lied their ass off. And then they tried to gaslight us. Don't get me started on Bamboo. They got good machines. I don't have a Bamboo just because it's just the principle of the thing. I don't like bullies. Let's see. Casey says, not only one asked for that, and imagine all the laser and the dust and the soot gathering in the sensors, vinyl cutter, sure, not laser. Yeah, I said the exact same thing. I've done some laser. I got a laser cutter engraver thing, probably the cheapest one you can get. But the soot and the debris that you get within that's not good for a 3D printer. That's not good for longevity. And if you look at, and I brought that up in videos a long time ago, when Bamboo was popping this thing out saying, oh, it's an all-in-one system. Nobody asked for an all-in-one system, because if part of the system goes down, maybe the whole thing goes down. You know, if you're doing side gigs, you don't want one machine to do everything, because if the machine breaks, now you can't do anything. And exactly, that's Casey said, hit it right on the head with that in regards to if you've ever done laser engraving, if you've ever done cutting, if you've ever done and seen those things, and the tear down that you have to do on that machine to clean that thing up, and you can't even clean up everything, is basically taking apart the entire machine. So it's not conducive. I want a 3D printer, I want a laser printer, engraver, cutter thing. No, I just want a laser engraver. I want a separate machine for each of those different things that they... Resin printer, I'm surprised Bamboo didn't throw in a resin printer as well. Hell, just throw in the kitchen sink, you know, add a blender and, you know, maybe a keg tap on there as well. It just didn't make any sense to that. It's a bunch of wasted money, in my opinion, for research, development. You know, imagine the millions and millions of dollars that they wasted developing that, and barely anybody's using it. So yeah, it's people are dumb, but we're not that dumb. So it is what it is. Alrighty, so that's what we got going on. I'm really excited about the Creality. Again, I'm a little bit reserved because of Creality's past indiscretions and hyped up claims and so on and so forth, and the problems that they had with Faux Hammer and some other people. Hopefully they learned their lesson and that they need to work with their customer base, and especially people that do honest reviews like Faux Hammer and other people. Don't try to blackmail them and say, oh, well, if you don't retract your honest critique of something that we could have improved on, and they got offended by it, that, no, now we're going to pull our affiliate from you. Come on, that's bullshit. So hopefully that time is over. But the technology for this KLiTek, and I call it KLiTek, for Clipper Tech, it's an interesting, I like that, but they should have put a P in there. So I'm just going to say KLiTek. I think this is going to be really good. We can kind of guess that it's going to be a 300 cube build area is kind of the consensus that we would come up with this. The changing of the nozzle is going to be 5 seconds or less. That's good. Changing from one to another in regards to material is 15 seconds, is what it said. The replacement nozzle is $14, is kind of amazing. They don't have a quick disconnect on the nozzle, but we also saw with the system that you can have different nozzle sizes, so you could do the outer walls of your model in a 0.4, and then your infill could be, you know, like they said, 0.8 or whatever it is. Options, we have options, and then of course the full spectrum multicolor thing with the CMYK printer stuff is going to be pretty amazing. So if they can pull this off, and it looks like they put some thought into this, I like it. I like it a lot. And I think what Creality could end up doing with this right here, you could do a single nozzle system with something like this. And especially if it's a high flow for TPU, so that you could do 80A and all the way up to 95A and everything in between, you could throw this into K2++, K2++, you know? Yeah, and like some of us said, you know, they'll start out with a smaller one, they'll make a bigger one, then they'll have their pro version and whatever. I think they kind of go overboard on that a little bit personally, but you're going to have the starter machine, and then you'll have a bigger machine, and then you'll have a medium machine in between there. So yeah, this could have for a long run. Very, very interesting stuff. So yeah, that's what we got going on. Good stuff, good stream we got going on. Matter of fact, I just finished printing the cell phone holder. Can I get that? Yeah, that finished printing. And I guess I could pull that in there. I made some stuff on Tinkercad, so some cell phone holders, and I did the other version of that. So I'm going to pull that off, and we'll take a look at that, since it's toward the end of the stream. Let's see. KZ says, if they pull it off without major issues like gluing in cables on their K2+, yeah, I know, then insert surprise Pikachu face. It gets hot and glue melts. Absolute black magic. Yeah. But then again, I worked in electronics and industrial settings and cameras and fiber optics and the whole 9 yards, and the gluing is there, but yeah, in the glue can melt. They just need better glue. But yeah, it is a thing. But I do have to admit, I'm, for the most part, for the K2 Plus, and what I've taken apart and seen and looked at is I'm pretty satisfied with it, all in all. I don't know about their other machines because, again, I'm kind of hesitant since I live in Korea and we can only do so many things, and trying to reach out to companies to do reviews. But yeah, the days of just everybody sending everything to everyone to review, those days have gone and passed. So I don't know. I have limited space, and if I buy something, because I'm here in Korea, I want to buy something that's good, and I'm just happy that the K2 Plus is good. Let me go run and get that build plate, and you can take a look at my desktop there. The paint area that I'm painting my Necrons. And let me just grab this phone holder, which took 4 hours and 31 minutes, 131 grams. And we did a little bit. We changed some of the, we did some fuzzy skin on that as well. So, boom, there that is. So I did a little bit different. The Veroni, it looks, I think that would look good in a wood color. But I was just experimenting and did some different stuff on that. Ding. So we'll come back to the desk and we'll see how this goes. No, not that one there. We want this one. We don't want that one. We want this one. This is the one we want. So yeah, this is, and I got some dimensions because I ended up using, I just got in the Apple Mag safe charger, so I did the dimensions for that. We'll see how that goes. We also did the charger for the Apple Watch, and this was printed at 0.2. And look at how those supports get in there. I'm surprised that worked. So we'll do a quick little removal of some supports. We'll see how this goes. And I did a 0.26 as far as the, do I have another camera angle? Do I? I might. I don't think I've got the, let me see. I've got another camera here, if I can plug this in, and hopefully it so we can kind of take a look at that. So let's see how that goes. So yeah, I did a little bit different. We'll take a look at that. Casey says, will you be getting the M1 and R1 filament maker and shredder or pass due to space constraints? I'll probably do a pass on that, just for the fact that I don't have that much waste. And if I was selling stuff, then maybe I would do that. Let's get a little bit more light on the subject. There we go. So you can get a little bit. So you can see the skin on there. What skin did I use? Fuzzy skin, I did all walls. I did extrusion and Voronoi, which divides the surface into cells and kind of makes a random little bit of, as you can see there, a little bit of a different texture versus what I did before. And my fuzzy skin point distance was 0.1, thickness was 0.1. So yeah, it turned out pretty good. And then I've got another one that I did, which is like the regular, and then another version. You can see that came out kind of good. I want to try out different versions, and let's see how these. These are coming off. Oh, I wonder if I made a mistake on the supports on this, because these aren't coming off like 0.26 top G distance. But yeah, I got a little area here. You can see I got some 2 holes for the speaker on the iPhone. And let's see. Yeah, I'm thinking I didn't have the right spelling, but that's okay. Oh, yeah, I actually think I made a mistake because I was so excited just to get the. Seriously, I think you'll be okay with that. Dum. Because these are not popping off like 0.26. Okay. Not too bad. Now the question is, will our cables work? Good morning. The wonderful, beautiful life. So, let's see if we can fit this in here. Put a little hole in there so that way I could easily remove, because the tolerances were going to be tight, I think. And with this Voronoi whatever, I think it's going to be a little tight. So I might have to heat this up a bit. And I think I will, because it's oh so off. Well, dare I force it? Okay, that's going to be in there forever. And then I think this other one is going to be tight too. So I just got this in. And yeah, it's going to be a little tight. Tight is good. So, not good, that's good. And the tolerance is so tight. You know what? I think I've got something I could use. Let's see if we can bring the heat. Bring the heat in the pain. Either this is going to work or it's not. Fire. Be careful. Oh, yeah, there we go. Boom, fits in like a glove. And I didn't burn the cable. Okay, nice. Not too bad. Then you can see I did some, you can see there, I did these little tabs in that cable track. So that way, let's see if these work. Oh, this is going to be close. There. That worked. I can already see on the next version, I'm just going to need Yeah, I'll need to make some minor adjustments. But look at that. Turned out good. And then we've got enough room in here that the track. Oh, those are nice. Will come out there, out the back, and get in there. And then I can do with that one. Put that one in there. Not bad for a little Tinkercad. And oh, there it is. And I could throw that in there as well. So I need to make that track a little bit deeper on there. But okay, so version 4, I got a little bit of adjustment to do to make this track a little bit deeper so I can put both of those cables kind of like what I ended up doing there. So and so now the question is, will this charge? That does go out enough, so we're good there. So it should charge. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. And it's got an interesting little texture on there. Like I said, interesting. You see how that goes, and then the Apple Watch go on the back, and then have a little spot there. And I made this so that way it would fit the earbuds, the Apple Ear Pros or Pods or whatever the hell they are. But this will also fit the Beats because I have some Beats earbuds, so those will fit as well. So I need to do a little bit of work on here, make that track a little bit bigger. And I'm not sure about the texture though, compared to kind of this one here. This one looks more rugged, but I think I like this one better. But yeah, not bad for a little Tinkercad thing. And then this was another version that I had. And that's not too bad either. So yeah, interesting. Cool, good to go. I like that. I like it a lot. And fire, we had fire. Okay, so there it is. We talked about a lot of stuff today. So, and we played with fire, so that's always a bonus. We didn't burn any cables, so that's worth a like and subscribe to the channel, I think, for doing a live stream since none of that was planned out. But yeah, really excited about the Creality KLiTek next generation multi-tool head nozzle changing TPU printing magnificently fast machine that's going to be coming out the third quarter of this year. So will it be smash or will it be trash? Put that in the comment section down below. I'd like to know what you think. And especially with being faster, less waste, being able to print tons of TPU, and then, of course, with the full spectrum color CMYK technology that is popping up all over the place. Ooh, interesting. If they do this right, I think Creality could set themselves up. And if they can get back into the good graces with some influencers and reviewers and things like that and not take things personally, especially constructive criticism, I think Creality is on the road to redemption. But it remains to be seen. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. So with that being said, we're going to close this out. If you switched your mic when you plugged that camera in. Oh, okay. Yep, I bet you're right. Okay, there. Is that better? I totally forgot. That's an EMIT camera that I have over there. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, I need smart people like you to keep me on track. And that's why I like the people on my streams. Smarter, faster, better people. And hopefully that rubs off on me. So anyway, looking forward to seeing what Creality does. And of course, there's other companies that are going to be out there. I fully expect Snapmaker U1 to make a U2. We'll see if they can work with the band U2. Are they even still around? Are they still alive? I'm still alive. I don't even know. It's been a long time. But it'll be interesting to see if they make a bigger printer using the multi-tool head system. And obviously, I'm pretty sure Creality is going to do the same thing. If we see how they do things, then yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. Hot End Hustle, welcome to the stream, says they have been quiet for a bit. I hope they bring it to the table. Yeah, I hope they learned their lessons, and I think they're starting to see that. But they had some stumbling blocks, they had some growing pains, and I think I'm really encouraged by what I'm seeing with this KLiTek system. So I think this could be a really good thing for them. They just need to be able to pull it off. And if they can pull it off, you're going to see the basic printer, and then they'll do a bigger printer, considering that if the past is any indication of future performance, like they did with their system, the K1, K2, K2 Plus, whatever, and then they have the K2 Pro and you know, small, medium, large machines. That's what I think they're going to end up doing. So I think they'll have the regular machine, which should be a 300 cube build area with 4 tool heads, and I think they'll have a larger one, about the K2 Plus size. In other words, they'll just kind of, you know, scale it up a bit, and so you'll have like 6 or 8 tool heads, probably 6, I'm thinking, and then you'll have like a Pro version, which will be in between the two. So on the bigger system, will that be a 350 cube build area? Ooh, that would be nice. That would be nice. If I had a tool changer in the size of my K2 Plus, that would be amazing. Yes, it would. That, and I'm not big on, you know, my CFS system. I don't really print multicolored items. It's just not really a thing I do. I do more printing, priming, and then I paint the thing. But with this, if they had the K2 Plus, that could be, and especially with the full spectrum color technology, that could put me out of the paint business, which would be nice. You would just need to buy filament and press print and go. But yeah, could you imagine, doing the cell phone holder? And like I said, I haven't done TPU, but it would be nice to have a separate nozzle for TPU and automatically print in little TPU rubber stops so the phone doesn't like slip all over this slidey, you know, PLA that we got. One and done. Interesting. I would be all over that. I would be all over that. Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, fingers are crossed. We're all crossing our fingers on that, and hopefully they can pull this off. KZRU says, I'm hoping they CNA maybe make a better tool changer adapter for the K2. I would definitely buy it. Yeah, I don't think they'll do an upgrade kit. They won't do the Prusa upgrade page out of that manual. I think they'll just do more machines. No, I'll use my H2C and U1 for color. Just need a bigger one. Ooh, cool. So I'm assuming you like your U1. I was so close. I'm still considering the U1. I don't know, but then it's the U1 bamboo. I don't know. But U1 is a possibility. Prusa, I've been tempted to do the Core 1 XL, or not the XL, but the Core 1L with the promise of the index system that probably won't be out until next year for that. That would be but it's just so expensive. Good Lord. And lead time is like 5-6 weeks on top of that. And I would have to pay extra because I live in Korea. So yes, but Hot End Hustle says he loves his U1. I can imagine. I haven't seen a lot of people have problems with it. It's very minimal compared to what we saw in the past with new machines coming out. And that's encouraging because I think that's across the board. Hot End Hustle says he got it on Kickstarter, is ran every day with no issues. Awesome. That's good. There's nothing better than that. Getting a Kickstarter and at that reduced pricing and having it work that well, that says something. That's always good. You can't beat that. So hopefully we'll see something like that, which begs the question, will Creality do a Kickstarter? If they do, usually I say people know me, I never buy the first thing that comes off the press right out of the gate. I never do that. But if they did a Kickstarter with this KLiTek system, I might take it. Yeah, I might take the dive into that, do a first time and into the deep waters of something like that. Makes me wonder if they're going to do that. I don't know. I don't think they'll do a Kickstarter. Kickstarters are good, but then Bamboo started out with Kickstarter. Other companies that are bigger, huge companies, they also do Kickstarter. It's a good way to get exposure and get money and all that stuff, and be able to nail down how many they need to make, kind of solidify some timelines and all of that stuff. Goalposts, we'll see what happens. So yeah, KLiTek, I'm calling it KLiTek, not calling it KLiTek. Yes, I'll take KLiTek for $5,000, Alex. So yeah, but if I'm going to go out on a limb, I don't think they'll do a Kickstarter. But if Creality does a Kickstarter for this thing, I think I would do it. I would do it. Hot End Hustle says, Prusa is amazing, but it's like BMW or Volvo. Cost to fix. And they're just a little expensive. They're a little expensive. Yeah. My Sean Connery impression needs work. But you got that reference, so thumbs up on that. That shows how smart people are on the stream. I love hanging around you all. So anyway, yeah, if they do that, if they did a Kickstarter, I honestly right now, I think I would back that for the system, because I think I got some good feelings about this. That's kind of rare. But I've been wrong before. I've known to been wrong before. I've been a little bit off from time to time. Yeah, so we'll see. But with that said, hey, thanks for stopping by and checking out everything, talking about the Creality KLiTek, or KLiTek as I say, a new system. It's supposed to be coming out the third quarter this year. Obviously, they've been working on this for quite some time, especially when you look back at the patents and the filings and stuff like that. Everybody's working on something behind the scenes, but this will be interesting. This will be an interesting year, and I'm really looking forward to this. So maybe, since I was looking for another printer, I have to put that on hold, because it would be nice to stay with one company, but then again, I don't know. We'll see. I want something that's good and works and gives me a good return on my investment and works. And works well. That's all I want. I want to print stuff, make stuff, have fun. So that's what it is. Alrighty, with that being said, if you could, hey, could you all do me a favor? Could you hit the like button? I would really appreciate that. That would help out the channel. Again, I'm Steve, The Varied Life, retired hobby tech guy who's retired American expat here in Korea. So we kind of, I don't think I mentioned that. So yeah, I'm Steve. But with that, if you could like and subscribe, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And if you want to get in contact with me, boom, and there it is, my email address. I always answer my emails. If you just want to say hi, show me prints that you have done, like, Hot End Hustle, send me some pictures of stuff that you printed out. I had somebody send me pictures of smoked ribs that they've done. That was pretty cool. And then a bunch of people bought me coffee. You could do that as well. Link in the description box, yada, yada, yada. Comments on videos, since I'm a one-man show, It's kind of hard when I got over 800 videos. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But I appreciate it, everybody watching. Little alibi, KZ says I would like to see dual nozzle tool changer, like 2 colors and changes for 2 more, maybe in the future. Well, we'll see how that goes. That's a possibility. But it is interesting that the KLiTek is going to be able to print at like a 0.4 nozzle and then do infill with like a 0.8 or vice versa or whatever. Interesting options that they have that Creality is bringing to the table, and I'm sure other companies will be doing that as well. Alrighty, that's going to be it. I need to make my latte. I haven't had that. I've got Hawaiian coffee waiting in the kitchen as we speak. And so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up and see what I end up doing. Old dog doing new tricks in 3D printing and painting and miniatures, doing the Necrons. But right now, I need coffee. So we're going to go ahead and sign off, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace. Good stuff. Good stuff indeed. Thank you for watching.